you very much. I'm glad we waited for this young man. So this is the Middle Ages, and they wrote it down because it was exceptional. The one place you could buy cheese in this country was in Gouda, on the marketplace. Very famous, it's a beautiful city, beautiful place, well worth a visit, but it's where the cheese started its commercial life, if you like. Now, the way Gouda is made is that it's always the same shape, always shaped like a wheel. It can come in big sizes or small sizes, it's always the same shape. And these particular cheeses that we have here have been made by hand in exactly the same way that we've been making cheese for nearly 1,000 years. Two differences only. The one is the yellow coating that we put on the outside. The inside is exactly the same, and the other is the electricity that we have now. Instead of making it in the olden days, it was all made by hand, very bad on your back. But now we have electricity. Now, how we make this wonderful cheese is we put the milk, first of all, in the big container. We heat it up to 29 degrees, and then we add this liquid. Now, traditional rennet is an enzyme. This enzyme makes the milk set. It goes thick. Once it's done that, we start cutting it with the knives, like you see over here, and after 20 minutes, it separates into curds and whey, the solid and the water. 10%, 90%, right? We only use this for the cheese making, the 10%, but the 90% of the water is incredibly healthy. They say if you drink 1 cup of this a day, you don't get any older. 106. I'm counting. I should leave. Nowadays, this has become very popular. In the olden days, nobody wanted it at all, but nowadays it's really popular. They make a lot of powder from this, the water. They take the water off, and then what's left is the powder. If you go to the health shop, you'll see bucketfuls of this powder. Bucketfuls of it. Very healthy. Now we put all those bits, they go into these molds. Now this is to make 1 kilo of cheese. 1 kilo. And in order to make 1 kilo of cheese, we need 10 liters of milk. 10 liters. Little bit of audience participation. 10 liters of milk for 1 cheese. That's a huge amount of milk for 1 cheese. Let's say here. I just saw the eyes go up. What we do then is, if we want to make a flavour, because you'll have noticed that a lot of the cheese has flavours in. If we want to put a flavour in our cheese, we'll put it in when the water's gone, the bits are still in there, and we mix it all through like that, and then we put it in here. So it's already in the mould, being pressed, each flavour, so we do one flavour at a time. Now we press this down as hard as we can for 2 hours here. Then we take the shapes and put them in salty water over there for 1 day and 1 night, 24 hours. After that, we take them out, we dry them off, and then we're left with this yellow. We put the yellow on once it's all dry. If you want to tell if a cheese has been handmade, you can always see that by this way. I can see, and I don't know, it's maybe more difficult for you. It's lighter on this side. Can you see a little bit darker on this side? A little bit lighter. This is a little bit less shiny. A little bit more shiny. I don't know if you can see that very easily, but you can always see a homemade cheese, handmade cheese, because you can see that it's been painted differently. Always is. Now what we do then is, once we've painted these cheeses with the yellow, it's like a sort of custard. It looks like custard, but you paint it on with a brush or with a rag. It's actually made out of paraffin. The thing about this layer is that it's porous. It'll go on. It covers the cheese, it makes them hygienic, but it lets them go on breathing. It doesn't completely cover the cheese, so they can go on breathing. They will go on maturing, and this is what we need, because we need the cheese now to mature. It actually takes 4 weeks for the cheese to mature, and what happens in that 4 weeks is very special, because it completely changes. It goes from this little whitey bits like I showed you. In 4 weeks' time, waiting for it, it turns into this.
Wow.
A bit quicker, thank you. It changes completely. In 4 weeks' time, we've got yellow, white instead of white. We've got solid instead of little bits. I think, when I thought of that, I went, wow, like this. I was much better than you. This is like cottage cheese, and this is solid yellow cheese. It's taken 4 weeks, but it's completely different. I think that's extraordinary. Do you not think?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Now, what we have here, let me put this down here. 4 weeks we can eat the cheese, but then we have a young cheese, and you can see, look, it's not very hard. It's quite soft. We call a young cheese. Now, these ladies down here will know all the different sorts. We have young cheese, we have belegen, which is a middle-aged sort of cheese. We have young belegen, oud belegen. We have, and then it goes up and up and up and up. The belegen cheese starts around 5 or 6 months. The middle-aged cheeses, and the old cheeses, believe it or not, start at 10 months. Wow. We have a young old. It's a bit of a paradox, isn't it? The old starts at 10 months, and it can go on and on and on and on. This particular cheese here is about 2.5 years old.
So 2.5. Yeah.
I like them now. 2.5 years old. Now, can you see how special this is? In 2.5 years, it's gone darker. Can you see that? How darker? It's gone much darker. It does it all by itself. It's so clever. But can you see what's really special here? Are these little white cheeses? It's not. It's neat salt. No, it is neat salt. It's not salt. Can you see the little bit? These are crystals, but they're cheese crystals. Not salt. Cheese, kaaskristallen.
Het wordt ook antieke kaas genoemd, of brokkelkaas, of brokkel.
Well, the crystals are called tyrosine. You don't need to know that. But it's a salty-ish, but it's not salt. It's a special cheese crystal. And the cheese crystal is exceptional. You only get this with really specially matured cheeses.
Excuse me, so cheese doesn't have expiry date?
This is such a good question. This is the most complicated question I ever have. Are you waiting? Okay, let me try and explain to you. God, it's really complicated. We make these cheeses here. They're not very big. And actually what we do with these cheeses, we put an extra waxy coating on, which completely seals the cheese. These cheeses start off as young cheeses, and they will now stay with the extra waxy coating. They will stay young until you eat them. All right? If we want a middle-aged cheese, we'll ripe it up. Then we put the waxy coating on, and it'll stay middle-aged until we eat it. These cheeses, we've matured on until they're 2.5 years. Then we put the waxy coating on, and then they're set, and they won't age anymore. That's the secret. The thing about these have to be in a bigger cheese. The older cheeses have to be in a bigger size because it will not work with a little size. You can keep them up to 5 or 6 months in this size, and then they won't be nice anymore after that. So you can't make an old cheese this size. You have to make an old cheese bigger. And you can see the wheels down here, they're much bigger. These will be old cheeses. If you want, you can make a cheese that size, and you can eat it after, say, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, 6 weeks. If you want, you can keep a cheese that size probably till 5 years. But what you get in the 5 years, the outside, and I don't know if you can see that really, yes you can actually. Let me show you. She made a really good question. It takes a wee time to answer, but can you see that here at the top is much darker than here? Because this is the inside of the cheese. Okay, this is where it gets really complicated because the outside will be much stronger. The inside will be lighter. So this cheese, it might be 3 years on the outside, but the inside will taste like a 2-year-old cheese. Do you understand? So this, and actually, personally, I quite like this area the best, is mine, because it gets a bit too old, right? But some of the people love this. Yeah, it is, that's the difference. So you can see it's a little bit lighter colour here, and much darker up here. It ages from outside in. It's a brilliant question. Brilliant question. Okay, now we start here. Now this is Henry, who started the cheese farm. Our farm is 20 kilometers away from here in a place called Katwoude. And Katwoude is a tiny little place between Monnikendam and Volendam. There's nothing there except our farm. He inherited the farm in 1975. Everything he was making was made by hand, and to an exceptional standard, I have to say. Everything was brilliant, and it was going really well until 1985, and the whole farm burnt down. Really bad news, shocking. But you know what? Sometimes in life, out of bad things come good things. And sometimes you need that balance. And in fact, if it wasn't for the fire, he might never have thought about this. Maybe, I don't know. But then, after the fire, he decided that he wanted to make a little factory on the farm. So the factory's there. It's still being used today. He started it in 1985. And this is where we make all of these cheeses. So every cheese that you see in the shop, we have made ourselves in Katwoude. It's very special.
Yeah.
We make now in the factory, we make cheese out of cow milk, goat's milk and sheep milk. And we are using now microbial rennet, which is completely vegetarian, which is very exciting. So these cheeses are 100% vegetarian. These cheeses is 1% not vegetarian. So but these cheeses are perfect, and the flavour is delicious. Like I said, all of these Italian cheeses here. Is there anybody? Can you just look if there's anybody outside?